Hello and welcome. This is Intimacy After, a podcast for mature women facing intimacy issues from various causes. Please know you are not alone. It is time to stop suffering in silence. On this podcast, we give hope that through practice of simple steps and proven tips, you can improve intimacy and resurrect your love life. Break free, learn to laugh again, to play again, to be happy, to love, and know that you are loved. I am your host, Queen. Come on inside. Welcome inside to another episode of Intimacy After. I have heard you, my sister friend. After the last episode focusing on single ladies trying to hold on and hold out, you said, what about us who are in it? What about us married ladies? We are on the other end of the spectrum and have marital issues we would like to discuss some things too. Yes. From the outside, everything looks perfect. You've been married for a long time, but the internal analysis shows that you are in a distracted relationship, lonely, sexually frustrated, and deprived. According to your messages, being married for a long time has its plus and minuses, and right now, you're simply just not feeling the roommate vibe. Some of you are sleeping in separate rooms for various reasons. Others are considering divorce. Some are just living together but separate, like two singles just cohabitating. Some of you care about your significant other and would never consider divorce, but, you know, other things. Some things gotta give. This episode will explore and go a little deeper into some of these issues. Of course, this is not all-inclusive and does not replace a counselor. We're just having a little chat here, like a good girlfriend sitting down in a cafe enjoying coffee or tea or whatever beverage of choice. This is just a chat, not counseling. With that being said, if you are single and or hoping to have a hubby someday, take notes and avoid some of these traps. Okay, let's have a chat. A lot of the issues that long-term marriages face are not actually new and didn't happen overnight. Am I correct or am I right? It's that slow boil we spoke about before. You know, that frog in the water that is kept on low heat for a slow boil. If that slow boil will kill a frog, the slow boil will kill anything, including your relationships. Yes, your marriage. Some of the symptoms that are ignored and continue to be ignored include grunting for communication, barely even saying good morning or good evening, the monotony of day-to-day living, the routine that has no vigor, just downright boring. What about nothing of commonality to share? He likes to sunbathe, you're Mrs. Vampire. He likes yard work, you scream at the sight of worms. He likes movies, you prefer to read. He likes to eat, you hate to cook. You get the drift. Then there are the unresolved conflicts. That is the sore that never heals. Anything swept under the rug never really goes away. It just festers, gets infected, and bitterness builds and boils, and there are little outbursts over small things, and you're wondering, what happened, right? That's the little conflict that never truly got resolved. Then there's the big one, changes in appearance, weight gain, weight loss, medical needs, the gray hair, balding, emotional needs, and more. Physical and emotional changes requires a new skill set, not just tolerance. Yes, it requires work. And the big one, too, is also taking each other for granted. In order to not take each other for granted, though, you will need to know how and when you feel appreciated, and the same go for him as well. And after you figure out what makes you tick and what makes you smile from the inside out, don't keep it a secret. You have to share it. So when something is done that you like, say it. Hey, I really appreciated you doing that. That makes me feel good. Whatever that may be for you, share it, communicate. And communication after a certain age and after a certain time of being married, it changes. New things happen over time. You have to keep up with the changes. You have to keep up with what you need to know to grow. It is the same with relationships. If you're going to grow in your work and vie for that new position, then you should grow in your relationship and vie for your husband as well. You have to do some work. It does sound like work because it is. Weary indeed. But there is importance in identifying your specific issues. This self-awareness is a start. So congrats for being here today. Congrats for listening in. But again, disclaimer here, as always, whenever we're dealing with these kind of topics, I have to give my disclaimer. So this discussion does not include discussion of abuse of any kind. That is beyond the scope of this podcast. I would encourage you, if you are in a situation of abuse of any kind, to seek professional help. The role of therapy and counseling will play a huge role in any situation, but specifically in those that are drenched and covered in abuse. That should not be tolerated. There are also other avenues for assistance through your church and other local organizations that support women who are going through abuse. So please do seek that kind of help. Okay? So let's start with the distraction side of things. When was the last time you went on a date night? We went on a date night, finally, after dropping what I thought were anvil-size hints. But that's something I've learned over the years. We went out to a relatively okay restaurant, the fallback activity, right? We always could fall back on going to the movies or going to a restaurant. It's something. But as I was sitting down and surveilling the room, yes, I still do that. It's the military part of me that lives on. Many other couples in the room seem to be enjoying their phones more than their partners. He reached for his phone and I shot him the look. I'm very protective of my QT, quality time. Are you? This is not just a kid's, teenage, or young adult thing anymore. Most folks are downright hypnotized by media. Long hours in front of the telly, face forever in the phone, playing a game or giggling or swiping left, right, or swiping down, up, or watching others live their best life now, while the life of your relationship, your hubby with your family seems to drain away. What about digital detox? Will reducing screen time improve presence and attentiveness? Maybe not right away, because at the sound of the inevitable question, okay, so what do you want to do instead? Then comes the panic look in response. Well, I don't know. What do you want to do? This simply invites more frustrations. If you have demands of not using the phone or not being on the telly or not playing the games, but have no plan in place, then there will be frustration. You have to have a plan. If you don't want him to do this, then what would you like to do instead? If you want to reduce screen time to improve presence and attentiveness, get a plan in place. I was thinking back to the time when I was growing up in Jamaica, when the TV come on at a certain time, then go off and you get that beautiful rainbow thing on the telly, and then it'll come back on later in the afternoon. We had only 2 stations, and a lot of the programs that we received were programs from the UK. And I'm thinking about my grandparents, because the last part of residing in Jamaica, I lived with my grandparents, and I just don't recall there being this many distractions. Do you? We would sit out on the porch and we would have evenings where we just talk and laugh and recall XYZ. In most time when the telly is on, my grandpa may watch cricket. I know cricket. That's why I cannot get through this baseball thing these days. But it was either cricket or boxing. When those 2 things are on, we have no other option but to go sit out on the porch and chit-chat with each other. But there weren't any phones. There weren't any cell phone. We didn't even have a phone in the home back then. So what did we do? We actually read and we actually spoke with each other. Have you ever just had a glass of wine or a drink and just sat down, no television, nothing, and just talk? Be it about life in general, the family, your hopes, your vision. Just talk. Whatever happened to them? Then there is the part about loneliness. If you want to address loneliness, this plan should have included friendships and social connections outside the marriage. Having and maintaining your own interests is an antidote for loneliness as well. If you're listening and not yet married, this is so very important. If nothing else, for sanity's sake, maintain some form of friendship, community involvement, etc. outside of your marriage. So tell me, sister friend, what else do you do? Are you pursuing personal interests or hobbies? I know you won't like this, but you're responsible for making yourself happy. Yep. He's there to make you happier, and you are there to make him happier. Together, you'd go skipping down the road, the happiest couple ever. Remember, happiness is based on happenings, though, so that can fluctuate. Seek joy. Something that's there deep inside of you, the appreciativeness, gratitude, just being aware. Happiness comes and goes. And if you want to be happy, find ways to make yourself happy so together you could be happier. Look, I'm not going to lie. This is going to take work. I have the collective knowledge of over 1,000 years of answers to, how did you stay married for so long? What's the secret sauce? Inevitably, this is one of my favorite questions to ask patients when greeting them in follow-up. Those who have been married for 40 years, 50 years, 60, some even 70 years. Yes, 70 years. This is not a myth. I did say 70 years, not 7 months or 7 years. 70 years. I spoke with the equivalent of what could be referred to as marital dinosaurs and learned quite a bit. Here's the 1,000 plus years wisdom I've garnered over the years. If you are bored, that's because you are boring. Ouch. Ouch. If you are lonely, you can do something about it. Your husband is along for the ride. I know. Why do you have to do everything? You both took the vow to have and to hold from this day forward. Doesn't it seem as though if you don't do anything for the fun portion of the relationship, most times it doesn't get done? Is your brain just tired and you're simply frustrated with being the one doing this all the time? So, what's your alternative? To have and hold yourself? The grass is not greener on the other side, and perchance it is. That is because someone is tending and watering the grass on that side too. It is still work. So why not do the work on your side? Another thing, stop expecting perfection from your husband. If he does something all the time that annoys you, stop focusing on it. Just call it the 20% and look at the 80% of all the wonderful things that's going on, right? So let's pivot and acknowledge the 20% of deficiency, but focus on the 80% of wonderfulness that you said yes to. Remember, disclaimer alert, this does not apply to anyone going through abuse in any shape or form. This is not something that you can fix on your own, and abuse is not a fault that you have caused upon yourself. If you find yourself in an undesirable situation, there are accommodations in communities close to you that can provide counseling, shelter, care, and more. So, speak with your local authorities, churches, and other organizations for additional information regarding safety in those kind of situations. My bluntness in what I'm speaking about here today does not relate to abuse of any kind. Okay. So now we are on board with seeking help if it's needed for any unsafe environment. Let's get back to the topic. How to start watering your grass to make it green again on your side. Don't give up yet. What about finding joy in mundane activities together? Washing the dishes together? Cooking together? Over the past few years, one of the things we've done together is play word games on the notebook and/or iPad and challenge each other with word building. Not nerdy at all. The whole idea is to do something together. So if he's going to be on the phone and playing game, make it a game that y'all can play together. Date nights, quality time, shared activities. Don't force it though. Start slow, gentle. What are some of the things he may not mind doing? You may not be a sports fan, but if the budget allows, how about going to a sports event together? He's into NFL or college football. Start with supporting your neighbor's kid on the local high school football game. Wanna laugh? Watch a Pee-wee game. I remember when I was stationed in San Antonio, Texas. It was hot from sunup to sundown, and honestly, it was just not one of my favorite assignments. The river walk was great, but could only go there but so often. One of my patients mentioned to me about the rodeo coming to town and how much fun it would be. Rodeo? I'm from Jamaica. What kind of rodeo? I'm a city girl. I have no idea. Like, rodeo? And that's one of the things I have to say. The military really introduce you to a plethora of activities that you otherwise would not have considered. So if you're not military, consider some of the things that may be outside of your norm. My best friend back in medical school dragged me to the slopes to go ski. And now, mind you, I was like the only Black person there. And I was yelling at the trees to get out of my way. But let me tell you, I had so much fun. We went a few more times. You just have to try. It's a little bit less tabooed to have Black folks on the skiing slopes. But that was my stepping out and trying something new. I was with a good friend of mine who had my best interests at heart. And so I was comfortable sharing in her culture. So maybe we need to have friends of different culture and share in different things. I remember the first Indian wedding I went to. I love spicy food. I'm from the Caribbean. I love spicy food. That wedding was off the chain. The activity, the glamour, the food. Okay, let's get back. So, when I was in San Antonio, I decided, okay, let me go and check out this rodeo. Oh, wow. Rodeo. Never heard of it and wasn't really interested. But can I tell you, it was the most natural fun that I ever had. I actually still have my buckle with the belt around. It's a very thick, like brown belt. It's got an eagle on it and it says U.S. Army. And my big buckle has an eagle on it. I wear it with my jeans every now and then, but that's one of my pride purchases. And I had this little bracelet made of leather of different colors. So the shopping was there, so that was good. Thumbs up for the rodeo on that side. But there was an event where the kids, different age range, I think I saw the age that maybe was 6 or so. They were all on the sheep. Then, after the sheep was released, we were seeing who can stay on the sheep the longest. Oh my goodness. I laughed so hard, I was in tears. The pure joy of watching those little ones trying to hold on for dear life onto the sheep wool. Laughter, tears were just pure. It was so much fun to see that. And then, okay, some were crying, but in the end, they were all laughing and want to get back on the sheep again. When was the last time you had pure, tearful laughter? Laughter, where you have to hold your legs together and run to the bathroom so you don't pee on yourself. Like, laughing so hard till you cry. That's so refreshing. Oh, serious question now, though. Why did you get married? Why did you say yes to your hubby? You know, the one with whom it seems there are now irreconcilable differences. Have you ever been able to have conversations about your sexual needs, his sexual needs? There are many shades to sexuality, which is beyond the scope of this podcast, but a conversation that is worthwhile having. Keep it lighthearted, if able. Remember, men, for the most part, are very visual. And for the most part, mostly really do enjoy having sex. So where can you meet him? Start with, hey babe, we have never spoken about sex and sexuality. Do you feel like we're guessing about what we each would like or prefer? Daily may not be possible, but right? Of course, he's going to say, oh, I want to do it every day, but that's not possible. They can't hang. We're going to also discuss later on about erectile dysfunction and how that is affecting you, because there are females who are very sexual. I will not call it hypersexual. You are just very sexual, and your needs also need to be met. And if that's not being met because of erectile dysfunction or some illness, then that also needs to be addressed. It's time to explore new ways to reconnect sexually. I cannot say what that would look like for you, but this I do know. You will never know if you don't try. You will never know if you don't ask. Don't give up so easily. What do you want your legacy to be? You have a choice too. So the 7 practical steps we discussed today include professional help is a good thing. Your personal happiness does matter, but you've got work to do, and it's also partly your responsibility, or should I say mostly your responsibility. Work on rebuilding or building a new touchable social network. Touchable being the operative word here. You need a social network who is touchable, not just social network on the screen. Reconnect with your hubby on all levels. Balance is required. You can't just go to work and come home and then throw yourself into the bed or do the kid stuff. Cannot ignore your spouse. So, reconnecting on all levels to achieve some form of equilibrium. Your work life, your family life, including your spouse, your sex life, all of that need to be balanced. Step away sometime from your devices. Digital detox. Raising your head to look up and about you is essential now. Working together on a game or something on a device, sometimes you may have to step away from that too if you're staying up late at night doing word puzzle or playing games and your sexual needs are not being met. Again, balance. Developing togetherness in mundane daily tasks and discovering new things to do together outside the home can go a long way to ignite new sparks in your relationship. Try something new. Try something that's not in your culture. Look at a different culture, a new activity, and continue the ignition with open sexual conversation. You got to talk about it, and then you got to do it. According to my 1,000 plus years of marital wisdom from those who have been so kind to share, and thank you all, always remember deeply with every sinew of your being, taking the words to heart, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part, according to God's holy ordinance. Well, sister friend, I know you have choices, so I thank you for tuning into Intimacy After podcast. You may subscribe for bi-monthly alerts or stay in the know by visiting my website at queenquanta.com. That's Queen, QUANTA.com. Until next time, remember, a life without intimacy is like your favorite meal without salt. Ladies, let's spice it up. Life is beautiful and God is awesome. This is Queen, signing out.